so much. Good luck.
Thank you. Hello there and welcome to the James Gillespie's Parent Council meeting for today, Tuesday, the 26th of November. We're grateful that you've all joined. I hope we'll have a useful evening. Just briefly, I will just say a few words. I am Hilary Snaith, the co-chair of the Parent Council. I'll give you a little update about what the Parent Council has been doing. The main meat of today's meeting will be a presentation by Nigel Cotter, the Deputy Head Teacher, about the SQA results at the school this year and any actions that the school have taken as a consequence of that. And then we'll move to the head teacher's comments. Neil will give us an update on various activities at the school, addressing some of the questions that have been posed already before the meeting and some of the issues that we've discussed with him. And then there'll be a general open Q&A session. So you are all, as I say, very welcome. Please do put your questions into the Q&A. Again, if you see a question that you like, please uptick it so that we know that's a popular question, and it also avoids asking any of the repeat questions. If you feel comfortable and able, it's really nice if you're able to ask a question with your name so we know who you are. Equally, of course, if you don't feel that that's something you want to do, you're perfectly able to ask your question anonymously. So please do put your questions at any point during the evening into the chat, into the Q&A. We will close the Q&A at some point, but we'll give a 5-minute warning to make sure that you've had time to ask the question that comes to you. Okay, so I will just quickly share my slides so I can just tell you a little bit about what's been going on. I need to move some windows around. I have too many windows open on my screen. Sorry. So yes, so today is, as we know, it's the Parent Council meeting. So first of all, again, welcome. This meeting is open to everybody. We are recording it. Last time when we had an online meeting back in September, we were using Teams in a new format. It's still quite new. The Teams has done quite a lot of changes, and we lost the recording. However, we have found the recording, and at some point we will make that available onto YouTube. So if anybody has any questions relating to the meeting we had in September, the recording will be available soon, and we are recording today's meeting as well, and so we will also, of course, make today's meeting available. And the minutes, etc., from our AGM are available on our website, so you can go back and hopefully find any information that you were interested in. So as I say, this is the agenda for today, and we've already been through that. So obviously the last meeting we had was our annual general meeting back in October, and we elected our new various office bearers. Some of you will remember that in our last year we mainly had acting office bearers, but all of these people now are our full office bearers for this coming year. So as I say, I'm the co-chair along with Tiziana Baschiani. We're grateful to Sam Ross and Liz Hilton, who are both vice chairs. Our secretary is Parik Kinsella. Our treasurer is Kirsten Layton. Our new refreshments coordinator is Yulita Burgess, and we're very grateful for her taking over because there's a lot of activity upcoming, especially with the Christmas concert and the refreshments that will involve. So thank you to Yulita, and particular thanks today to Kate Pino, who has done a fabulous job setting up this meeting. As I say, Teams is new and has caused various spanners to be thrown, and so very many thanks to Kate for all her time in getting this meeting running for us this evening. So as is required at the Parent Council, just need to update about our finances. Thanks to Kirsten for looking after them for us. We still expect to shortly receive our allocation from the City of Edinburgh Council, which we use to run the Parent Council. We don't have that many outgoings, but it does pay for things like the hosting of our website and for the Teams licenses that we have to run these meetings. Those are our main sort of costs for being a Parent Council. And we also then can use whatever we don't spend on those activities for our small sums fund. Unfortunately, we still have not received our council allocation for the 2023-24 academic year. we are still trying to explore with the council where those funds went. It's about £1,300, so it is absolutely worth looking for, and obviously can be used, again, as I say, for the Small Sums Fund, which supports a variety of activities that the teachers request across the school. We have received our 2024 applications from teachers for the Small Sums Fund, and currently allocation of those funds is underway with a group of parents from the Parent Council assessing which of the applications we are able to fund. We won't be able to fund all of the requests that we've received this year, but we are discussing with the James Gillespie's High School Trust about the activities that they are going to fund and whether the synergy and whether we can fund between us all the applications that we've had. But those discussions are still underway. Once the allocations have been made, we'll put that information onto the Parent Council website. As I say, the refreshment stalls is the main activity that we actively do to raise funds at the school. And as I say, Yulita and her team have been present at a variety of events serving refreshments. And again, at the Christmas concerts this year, the school will add £1.50 to each of the ticket prices, which means that everybody attending will get a free refreshment when they attend the concert, but that £1.50 from each ticket will automatically be transferred to the school, to the Parent Council Small Sums Fund, and we'll be able to use that to further support activities in the school. The other way that the school essentially receives funds is through the donations that are made through Parent Pay, and we're very grateful if any of you have been able to support the Parent Council in that way. If you go in, if you haven't been in before, if you do look down the list of items that will be under your child's Parent Pay, there is an item at the bottom which is a fundraiser for the Parent Council. And as I say, all the funds that are donated that way come through the school, but then are allocated to our Small Sums Fund, which, as I say, we can allocate to support events within the school. So that's just an update on where we are with that at the moment. So in terms of our recent activities, I'll just give a brief update on engagement with the City of Edinburgh Council. So this is something that we do often in coordination with other parent councils across the city. Often there are particular activities or particular issues that come up that together we can work better with. So in this particular case, there's been that the council has changed the way in which they engage with parents of children with additional support needs. This wasn't discussed with parents particularly effectively, and so there's a distinct lack of coordination. So a number of parent councils contacted their councillors, including James Gillespie's High School. And we've received very good feedback from our councillors supporting the need to engage better with parents, and so hopefully that will improve going forwards. The other main activity that the parent councils across the city have been engaged with was a deputation last week to the Children, Education and Families Committee. They have done a review of the empowered learning and digital education, and there had been a significant problem identified with about GDPR compliance, about the way that information is shared between the different digital devices, who has access to what information at what time, and so there's been a deputation was sent to that committee to ensure that the GDP compliant approach is taken and a more robust rollout of the digital learning strategy is implemented. So together that has been quite effective, and we've received very positive feedback from the council about that deputation, which is very encouraging. In terms of activities at the school, we have discussed a number of these with the school leadership, and we're very grateful to Neil for his engagement with us and for his sort of very positive responses to the issues that have been brought up. Some of these will probably be addressed this evening, some of them may not be, but hopefully if you're interested in pursuing them, please do let us know in the Q&A. But a number of parents have brought up the decrease in the space and the delivery of practical teaching in food and health technology, also in CDT, and so we've been engaged with the school as to why that would be. We've also explored, a parent asked about a support group for other parents with children who are neurodiverse, and we've discussed whether that would be possible to set that up with the school. You'll have seen, hopefully, communication from the school about short life working groups covering phone use, communications and homework. And so Neil will hopefully give us an update on how those are going and how parents can continue to engage with those short life working groups. We've also discussed at some length previously the new S6 study arrangements I'm sure many of you will be aware that the school it has very limited space for S6s to sort of study during the school day, and so there've been a number of new spaces made available for the S6 to feel part of the school during their time when they're not in timetabled classes. And so I think Neil will give us an update on how that those arrangements have been rolling out. There's been questions raised by a parent about the timetabling of some of the SQA higher exams this year. There's a higher English and higher psychology have been timetabled for the same day, which is obviously really challenging for pupils taking those two subjects. And so we're sort of supporting the school as they engage with the SQA about hopefully being able to separate those two exams, because for those pupils, those two important exams on the same day is really is asking an awful lot, and hopefully it'll be possible to have them on different days. We've also had parents raising concerns about the way in which this communication has happened about school exchange trips and very swift responses being required without enough warning for parents to make informed decisions. So we brought that up as an issue with the school. And so hopefully, again, Neil will comment on that. And finally, we are engaging with the, as I said before, with the JGHS Trust, and we're grateful to Vicky Plant and Duncan Bell, who are both members of the Parent Council, as they liaise between the Parent Council and the Trust about how we can better support each other. And I also just wanted to note that 3 members of the Parent Council are representing James Gillespie's at Gaelic Medium Education meetings that are organised by the City Council. So if parents are interested and want issues brought to those meetings through the Parent Council, you'll be able to, please do contact us, and either Porrick or Ola or Seamus will be able to take the issues that you raise to those meetings. So if anybody, as I say, is interested in having issues raised at council discussions about Gaelic medium education, please do get in touch with us. This is just finally to come to the end, a couple of notices that have come up. You may have seen, although possibly not, but on the Parent Council website, there's a notification from Connect, which is the body that sort of represents parent councils and helps support our work across Scotland. They are currently undertaking a survey on relationships, rights and communication. How is your homeschool partnership going? The link to that survey is on the Parent Council. If you just look for stories that are tagged with Connect. Their survey closes on the 6th of December, and they're interested just to understand across Scotland how parents feel connections with their schools are going. So please do complete that survey if you feel that's something you'd like to do. And lastly, many of you will be aware that the Marchmont Christmas tree is now, Marchmont Sheed's Christmas tree has now been put up outside the Co-op on Warrender Park Road. It will be formally lit in the sort of traditional way on Saturday the 7th of December at 4 p.m. And of course, everybody is very, very welcome to attend that event. Marchmont and Sheeds Community Council have asked for some volunteers that could be available to help with that event and get things set up, putting out chairs, serving mince pies at the event, and tidying up at the German-speaking church. If you feel you're able to help with that, from 3:30 on the Saturday the 7th of December, Alison at Marchmont and Sheeds Community Council would be very pleased to hear from you. Her address is on the screen there. We'll also make these slides available on our website, so if you need to go back and find her address afterwards, that's where it will be. But yes, if you feel you could help Alison and the Marchmont and Sheeds Community Council, please do get in touch with them. Okay. And that's all my comments for today. So I hope that's useful, just to sort of give you an idea of what the Parent Council has been working on and the issues that we've discussed with the school. If you have any further questions, as I say, please always do put them in the Q&A and we will pick those up later on in today's meeting. But for now, I'd like to introduce Nigel Cotter to you. He's going to talk about the SQA results for the school this year, and I will pass across to him now. Thanks so much, Nigel.
Hello there. Just bear with me. I've just got a new computer at the weekend's first time I've run Teams on it, and a second. Just asking permissions to do things. That caught me out.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go out and come back in again. I'll be back in a moment.
Okay, thanks so much, Neil. To Nigel, I guess we will just wait a couple of moments while he sorts his computer out. I believe that's
Right.
him coming back into the
Yep,
call.
sorry about
hi,
that.
Nigel.
I had to give hello there. Yep, that's me back. I had to give it permission to share my screen. So okay, and hold on, what's going on here? Can you see my screen there?
We can see some misty rocks by the sea.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got two screens. I don't know which one it's sharing. A second. Just lost my PowerPoint. Right.
I have your.
Do you see it there?
Not at the moment. I have your slides. Would it be easier if I shared them and you could just say next slide, please?
We could do. They've not appeared now, have they? On the other monitor? No. Okay.
Yes.
Is that them there?
Sorry. No, we can't see them. I've just realized I have them here now.
Yeah. So
shall I just
run them then? Yep, and I'll talk through them and I'll shout next. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good job. I shared them earlier. So thank you for that.
Okay. So hopefully, I'm just sorry. I just need to move things around so I can get them to go full screen. Hopefully, everyone can see them now. We can't ask anybody, but if anyone can put in the chat if they can see them, but hopefully they can. Yeah, okay, brilliant. Right, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so if they get the next slide. Right. I've taken a slightly different approach this year, and if you just to bring up all the notes on that one, it says advanced higher on that next screen. Last year I talked lots of jargon, lots of numbers, so I'm just taking a step back and talking through various other things this time before going into the numbers. I'm going to focus a bit on levels, and the level is determined by the difficulty of the course, which is pretty obvious, but we talk about level with a specific meaning in schools, and the levels sit within the Scottish Credit Qualification Framework, which we usually just call the SCQF. And we don't normally talk about levels. We don't talk about national 4s, national 5s, highers, and so on. We don't talk about the levels they're at. But the way the levels equate to the courses we normally run, national 4 is level 4, national 5 is level 5, higher is level 6, and advanced higher is level 7. So they're the courses we're most familiar with. But just get the next slide. I'm just going to go through this bit. So this is the SCQF framework. Which starts down at 1, which is a very elementary level that be done in some of the special needs schools, up to around PhD level at level 12. And if we just press click something for me. So in terms of old money, just press space. This is broadly what things are equivalent to in terms of understanding the qualification frameworks that you might have been through before with standard grade, foundation or access, O grades in there, and that's how they equate with the different levels. Now in the school we don't just do national 4s and 5s. If you could just press something for me, and the highers and advanced highers, and next one. We offer also the awards. We've got barista skills and mental health and wellbeing awards with the SQA and Achieve at levels 4 and 5. And the next one, we offer skills for work level 5 in laboratory science. Next one. And a range of national progression awards in journalism, computer games development, cybersecurity and exercise and fitness at levels 4, 5 and 6. And each of these qualifications have got different assessment arrangements because none of the ones that have come up there, the SQA awards, the skills for work and national progression awards have exams associated with them. So for pupils that don't respond very well to that high pressure, high intensity exam experience, but perform very well with project work and demonstrating competency in a different way, these offer a way to really achieve success and demonstrate ability and competency in different ways. Let's get next slide, please. Oh, and this one's important. Foundation apprenticeships. We offer these in conjunction with the college. They open up to 5th years and they run over 2 years, and they work towards an SVQ which will be part of a modern apprenticeship, and there's work experience involved, and they can be worth up to 2 hires in terms of access to university, and a very, very different context to what we would normally do in school, much more focused on employability and a direct link to the workplace. So we've got a range of options in there, as well as our national 4, 5 hires and advanced hires, and you'll see where this starts to come into play when we start to go through some of the numbers shortly. Okay, next slide, please. If we just call up everything on that page, if you just stop when it says these tariff points are one way, that's it, thank you. So everything at the same level has a similar level of challenge. So for example, everything at level 5, a national 5 will be equivalent in difficulty to an MPA level 5 and so on. Some are graded, so the national 5s, hires, etc. are graded A, B, C, so they will be tougher to get the A, and the ungraded ones just pass or fail, like a national progression award. And an ungraded pass is equivalent to just a grade C at the same level, and each qualification has got a number of points associated with the level of difficulty and the content in the course, where 1 point is equal to about 10 hours of learning. Now, these aren't the same as UCAS points. There's a correlation between, but they're not the same. But these tariff points are one of the ways that schools measure, that we're measured in terms of our performance as a school. So I've just mentioned this bit because I'm going to talk about different ways in which we look at the performance of a school and how good a job it's doing. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So this is the way that we talked about measuring school performance last year, and we look at the number of pupils who have achieved a given number of qualifications at a given difficulty level at key stages, usually S4, sorry, S4, S5 and S6, and typically we'd be looking at the number of pupils achieving 5 qualifications at level 3, we just call it 5 at 3, 5 qualifications at level 4, and so on. But we could be doing 1 at 5, 3 at 5, 5 at 5. There's all sorts of things and way we could measure that, and that's the way schools used to be measured, and the Scottish Government now use the tariff points, but this still gets used reasonably often to have a look at how we're doing. So when I was talking about like 5 at 5, 5 at 4, 5 at 3, 5 at 6, that's what I'm talking about. Right. Go get the next slide, please. Okay. And the different ways of measuring schools have got pros and cons. One thing is worth mentioning is there's some very, very worthwhile qualifications that don't sit within the SEQF and they don't appear in our performance data at all. These courses would often be aimed and most suitable for pupils who find school challenging, and it's a real shame because they can make a huge difference to young people, but they don't show up in our results at all. The other thing I'd say is none of this information gives any indication of the value added by a school. It just gives us the results at the end. So the Scottish Government measure us in with the tariff points and at the point of leaving school, and where the pupils go after school are really key elements that the Scottish Government look at. Now I'm going to go between 2 sets of data back with the tariff points. The ones are the exam results just now, but there's other data that I'm going to talk about that will relate to last session, because we won't get the next set of data out until February 2025, when they looked at all the positive destinations from our pupils last year, because they just start collecting that information during October, November from us. Okay. Next slide, please. There's a couple of years missing from this. In 2019, 20 and 2021, different assessment methodologies were used, and the results were totally out of kilter with other years, and it was very atypical. So we can't really have meaningful comparisons there. So we've just taken these 2 years out. This is fairly standard practice across all the schools and within the authority, and just go back to the years before that and the years after that. Right. Next slide. So this is the 5 ATs. This is S4. And we looked at the number of pupils that have achieved 5 qualifications at level 3, 5 at level 4 and 5 at 5. So that's so national 3, national 4 and national 5, and we've counted passes A to C. Technically a D is a pass as well. I think as the figures are very strong if we include the Ds, but in terms of real currency, in terms of progression in the workplace, C tends to be the cutoff that actually has much validity. So we saw a significant improvement in 5 at level 4 and level 3 last year, and that's been maintained, and the 5 at level 5 is the highest it's been. We can't get hold of records for any further back than that, but really very strong set of results there from S4. Last year was good for level 3 and level 4. We've held that and pushed up the number of level 5s for the 3rd year in a row. So pleasing results there. If I could get the next screen, please. Back one. Thank you. These are results at the end of S5, and again, improvements in all categories. Last year we were broadly in line with the previous years. 2018 was quite a strong year. I was nowhere near the school at that point. I don't know what happened there, but 2018 was strong across the board. But again, a strong set of results by the end of S5. And this is counting the number of people who got 1, 3 or 5 hires. And can I get the next slide, please? S6, again, the 5 at level 6, 5 advanced, 5 hires for S6 is the highest it's been as the records we have access to, and strong results for the 1 advanced hire. Pulled the figures for 3 advanced hires, they were strong as well. So really it is a strong academic performance across all year groups. And it looks like a trend there. Let's have the next slide, please. What more keen to do is start actually tracking the attainment pattern of the pupils as we go through the school years, and we're starting to get more data further down the school now. But what we can see here, and it isn't really a surprise, is that last year we had a strong set of results with our 4th year, which is translated into a strong set of results with our 5th year. So the 4th year results this year are stronger than last year's, so hopefully we'll be expecting strong results next year in our 5th year, and next year again we'd expect good results in our 6th year as well. So really the attainment pattern is looking good, and what we would hope to be doing over this session is start to actually build a picture for what might be coming down the line with future year groups by having a better idea of what the really ability spread is across each year group as we get more data savvy and get more data on board. Okay, can I get the next screen, please? Now, I'm going to talk about the virtual comparative school. When I started teaching, we used to, your school would be matched up with other schools that had similar characteristics, but that was quite difficult sometimes. For example, I worked in a rural school that had a catchment of 690 square miles, and 70% of the kids were bussed in from miles away. And trying to find a school that matched that would be really difficult. And so what the comparator school does, it's a virtual school, and for every 1 pupil we have, the system matches 10 pupils from across Scotland who are matched according to the gender, any additional support needs, the stage at which they left school, if they're leaving, this is for the other data, and their social context, the SIMD level of access to resources, etc. And so this is a supposedly statistically valid model of comparing schools. Okay, to get the next screen. So what I have here is our levels of literacy and numeracy at the end of S4. And so where the bar on the left, the green one, and the bar next to us, the magenta cerise one, is our virtual comparator for level 4 in literacy. And then the line green is our numeracy. Sorry, it's a literacy numeracy at level 5, sorry, and the virtual comparator at level 5. What we can see here, if we go back to 2022, we were behind the comparator. In 2023, we had parity at level 5, but we were behind in at level 4. But in 2024, we've overtaken the virtual comparator at both levels, which is very positive. This won't be due no small part to the access and efforts from the Access to Success team, who really supported a group of young people who were finding school quite challenging. If I could get the next screen up, please. The other thing we're looking at doing is looking at attainment for all pupils, and after the exam results come in, the pupils are split into the ones that have the top 20% tariff points, middle 60%, and the lowest 20%. And we've typically performed well with the middle and top part, but less well with the bottom 20%. And I've put the graphs there for 2022, or it would be 21-22, 22-23, and 23-24. So where the orangey bar on the left, the grey is our virtual comparator, the blue is the City of Edinburgh, and the red one is the national establishment. So in 2022, we did as we'd expect. It's a high-performing school. It's a virtual comparator is really the one we're chasing, and we beat everything except in the category of the lowest 20%, which would suggest that that we need to be doing something around making sure that those that find that academic attainment a bit more challenging, we need to do something to help them. And in 2023, we've pulled that up above the virtual comparator now and above in other categories. It looks like we've got worse if you compare against the virtual comparator, but if you look at the axes, actually what's happened is the virtual comparator's caught up with us. We haven't really got worse, so the gap has diminished, but we've really pushed up the lowest 20%. And 2024, there's a marginal drop in the attainment in the highest 20%, but really a strong performance with the middle 60%, but really the key bit is the difference we've made to lowest 20%. And increase in the tariff points for that 20% of pupils, that can be really life-changing for them in terms of the doors it opens for them, the courses it opens, they can get into increased chance of getting into colleges or into apprenticeships or whatever. And we're a big school, that 20% is going to be 60 pupils that we've really increased their life chances for by pushing up those levels that high. It isn't just a little bit above the comparator. That's a good jump above the comparator. So really across the board, really strong results everywhere, but both comparing historically and a virtual comparator, and trying to meet the needs of those who for whom it will really make a difference. I'll get the next slide, please. We're looking at also post-school destinations. As would be expected, a really high proportion of our young people going to higher education, and we aren't up there with the virtual comparator. This is a repeated pattern, but we are above them in young people going on to employment. And so there's a decent number going on to college as well, who may well go into higher education in time. Unemployed seeking, I haven't put the stats on there. It's I'm just trying to remember the numbers are. We've gone down slightly. It was about 1.5% or so. We've got a number of unemployed seeking, but that's been fairly stable. It's gone down in the last 3 or 4 years, but only a fraction of a percentage. Can I just get next slide, please? We've got a decrease in number going to university, but an increase in number going into employment. This pattern was repeated in the virtual comparator too, so that was quite interesting. The total drop over the last few years has been the same in the virtual comparator, as has been more gradual. There was a more sudden drop towards the end, so there does seem to be a trend towards more employment rather than university. So interested to try and find out why that might be. And could I just get the next slide, please? Then this is really the where the bar on the left. This is the post-school destinations in terms of positive destinations. So this includes people who they could be gap years, volunteering, employment, all the education options. Also employed seeking and so unemployed seeking, unemployed not seeking. So there could be a whole variety of reasons why someone might not be actively seeking employment. And so, but slightly behind the virtual comparison, we do a lot of work with agencies and SDS, the Career Service, and a range of others to try and make sure that we do support as many people as possible into positive destinations. Anybody that we think is at risk of not going into a destination, we have a 16+ group where we have other parties around the table to try and look at options for them. Now, I've talked about all of these things as well as the exam results, because really we are about getting people into the best place for them for moving on in their lives. And whilst the exam results are important, looking at all these other aspects of it are important as well. So I thought it might be interesting to have a look at those rather than just tables and tables of numbers. That's the end of the presentation. If there's any questions from anybody?
Thanks very much indeed, Nigel. I'm just looking through if the questions which I couldn't see when I was presenting your slides. So there are some questions. Hold on a second. So there are lots and lots of different questions.
I was looking at the wrong bit. I've just found it, right?
Yes, so it's slightly tricky to see, but there was a question that, certainly that is relevant to you. Well, I suppose one question is, I guess, relevant to exams is around the prelim timetables, and so I think that's a question that's possibly come up before and is obviously interesting. But apparently there's a question about when it will come out, and apparently it's going to be fairly late. So so what is the reason for the S56 prelim timetable being issued so late, last day of term before Christmas, according to my daughter? What can be done to avoid this happening again next year? So I don't know how true that question is, but I don't know whether you can address that. You know, when will the timetable come out, basically?
Right. It certainly won't be the last day before Christmas. I've not given the date. The problem we've got this year is, as our role is increasing, the pressure on accommodation is increasing, and we use Darrock for the prelims because there's capacity there, but we have a lot more classes in Darrock this year. So, for example, some days down in Darrock last year I had 9 or 10 classrooms available to use. I think on Wednesday mornings, when most of the school is up in the main campus, I had about 16 or 17. I now have 13 or so classrooms on a Wednesday morning, only for the first 2 periods. On a Monday morning, I've only got 2 classrooms available in Darrock. And I've got a total of 64 different exams and levels, most of which have 2 papers in the last 2 or 3 hours. And what I would normally do is work out which subjects I can get together without clashes, because I try not to give any pupils any more than 1 exam a day if I could possibly help it. And then I'd just put them in the days. The problem I've got now is I've got to work out not only which exams I've got to run, but how I'm going to fit them in the building. And with the alternative assessment arrangements, the higher English exam last year needed 19 rooms. and I don't have 19 rooms. And because I've got to shoehorn, we've extended the exam diet. We tried to get it to 2 weeks, 2 days. We took up to 3 weeks this year because I knew I was going to have problems with this. But until the timetable was finalised and we get all the AAA nailed down and the presentation is finalised, it's really difficult to do this. And there's so little wriggle room in this. It's bad enough just trying to put the combination of subjects together, but having such tight parameters on the accommodation, Mondays are just a nightmare. I think the most rooms I have available at any point in the day on a Monday is 5. I've got a games hall as well, which seats 59, but what I probably need to do is actually have 2 different exams in the same place at the same time, which I don't really want to do, because if they finish at different times, that's disruptive, and that isn't ideal. But there's things are going to have to compromise somewhere. So the difficulty now is the accommodation, because I'm having to do it backwards effectively. Normally I put the thing together, then I've just put the days in. But I might get to the stage where I've got it all done, then actually find I've got 4 exams I just can't fit at all. I have to take the whole lot out again.
I can appreciate it's very, very tricky. So I think the answer to the question is as soon as you're able, but please people be aware of just how complex the issue is for you. I think it sounds very, very difficult. So yeah, thank you for your comment there. So we will. Obviously pupils will be told as soon as you're able to tell them, and I guess that's as much as we can say just at the moment.
I can answer questions about the pupil tracking thing as well if you want me to.
Yes, please.
That's mine too. So yeah, the new tracking system, we got told we were using this and it came live in August. They took the training database away, which didn't help us very much, and we decided that we were going to include all parents, not just the primary contacts, in terms of being able to access report data, so that everybody could see the performance for their children. It's been quite challenging, I'd have to say. So between that, the prelims and that, when we sent out 3,500 email invitations, closely followed by 700 reports, we just had to sit and wait for what happened next. So we're working through the problems. I can't see the parent-facing side of the system, which is making life quite difficult. So where I can see the questionnaire is about joining the second child. That we know we can do it. Lots of people have done it successfully. I'm trying to find out from somebody who can tell me how to do it. So we've learned lots in the last 4 or 5 weeks. We'll be changing and adapting the information we put out with the reports to make things clearer. We'll be improving the instructions about logging in to make things clearer. So every time something goes wrong and we get some feedback, or it's a bit suboptimal, or somebody else has a question that we'd never thought about, we'll try and build that into our comms guide in the future. I think I did get over 300 emails to do with the reporting system. It took a while to get through those. We've dealt with most of them now. We've got a few random things where some reports just don't appear for some pupils. All of the 50 ones will be up about 10 and we don't know why they won't appear. So there's some mysterious things going on. So people could bear with us with this. The system's got lots of really useful capacity in terms of doing some of the things we want to do with data. It's just we've got a few teething problems getting it up and running.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. Again, it's a challenge, and it's good to hear just the complexities, and sometimes it doesn't. It's more complicated than it sometimes appears. I note that Neil has just sent a message. So this is in comment about the issues to do with the timetabling of the higher English and psychology, and Neil just said that Nigel, you'd be happy to comment on that. So this is, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's obviously it's a significant concern for pupils that are sitting both higher English and psychology to have the exams. As you say, you would never want to have pupils sitting so important exams together. So if you were able to share your comments about that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we emailed the SQA because we had to look at that. I think off the top of my head, I think it's about 85 pupils that sit in both exams. I haven't got the number of pupils who've got a distance assessment arrangements extra time for those papers yet. but there'll be a reasonable chunk of pupils, and for them that'll be about 6.5 hours of essay writing. But it's not just that. It's going to put huge pressure on our accommodation, because we've got the best part of 250 pupils sit in the English, and about another 110, I think it is, sit in psychology. I think for the English exams last year, I think it was in that 5, I needed 30 rooms by the time you take the reader scribes and everything into account. And the logistics of that, because we're going to be pushed for invigilators, we're going to be pushed for reader scribes, we're going to be pushed for rooms, and that's on top of the workload on the pupils. Some from just really just looking at the pupils aspect and the logistics aspect, we're really concerned about that. Many schools won't be such an issue because psychology is a relatively minor subject in many schools, but it isn't for us. And because we're such a big school with such pressure on accommodation, it all just compounds it. So we've made this point to the SQA, and I just got a stock reply back saying timetable is very difficult. I know my timetable, I understand that, but I didn't bother going back to argue with them, so I didn't get very far. But we have SQA coordinators meetings, and we have a schools liaison manager who attends that, so I brought that up there, and they asked me to forward my email to them. They're going to try and escalate it for me, and the senior officers and the councillor copied them into it as well. So we've escalated as far as we can. They could swap it for something numerate, do something else, but not that. It's yeah, it just seems absurd from in every respect from where we're sitting. So we are trying to sort it, but we've really done what we can. We just need to see what else can happen.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Again, it's one of these sort of almost intractable issues when you have a brick wall to come up against.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned to Neil when we met on Friday, if there's any support that the Parent Council can give, or if there's any sort of further evidence or lobbying that you feel would be helpful, then we would be very happy to do that. I appreciate that, as you say, you can only push so far before you annoy, and that we would not wish to do that. But any support we can give you, we of course would be very happy to give you that. So yeah, please let us know.
Yeah.
I think at this point I realise it's already got to 7:45, and so and time is marching on. So there are a few other questions. I noted also that somebody has made a point in the chat about not always, we don't always get to all the questions, and I agree. We will try to take a note of any that we don't get to and forward them to Neil after the meeting. We will have got this, we have the recording which will hopefully allow us to see those questions. We can download them after the meeting from our side, and we'll make a note if we don't get to any of them during the course of the actual live session just now. So Nigel, thank you so much for your time, for all your comments, and it's really useful and interesting to see just how the school is doing, and congratulations to all the pupils and the teachers for the huge amount of work that they've put in and for the results that they've got. It's really encouraging to see, and I can obviously hope for this continued success as you go through. So thank you so much, Nigel, and I'll ask Neil now, please, if I know you have various comments to give us as well about updates from the school. So I'm guessing Kate will put to you live shortly, but you will be able to, yes, I think you're live now. Great, thank you so much.
That's great, thanks Hilary, and good evening everybody, and thanks to Nigel for his presentation. Hopefully that was informative and gave a good understanding of our results this year, which we were very pleased with. So some updates for you from myself this evening. In terms of staffing, we've had a couple of changes. Mr. John Jennings, who's a teacher of psychology, has left to take a career break. So he's left us for 2 years, and we'll wait to see what happens at the end of that 2 years, whether he returns to join us, and we're interviewing to fill that post this week. And Miss Tanya Peters, who was our development officer for Raising Attainment, who worked in our Access to Success that Nigel touched on earlier, was successful interview and has recently taken up a post as deputy head teacher at Gracemount High School, and we wish Tanya every success, and again we're in the process of backfilling that position also. Last week we were involved as a school in a shared classroom experience. Over the course of Wednesday, Thursday and Friday we carried out shared classroom experiences, so we're going in to observe across a number of lessons. This involved officers from the centre, so our quality improvement officers, colleagues from other schools, deputies and head teachers. We had the head teacher from the Gaelic Secondary School in Glasgow join us for 2 days to help with the observations in our Gaelic medium education classes. We also had the trail of over the course of a day in regards to some of our young people with additional support needs to make sure that their needs were being met and being supported. And the last aspect of that experience last week were focus groups with pupils from both the broad general education, so S1, 2 and 3, also from the senior phase, or pupils from 4th, 5th and 6th year. And also with staff focus group as well. And the purpose of that was to look at our learning and teaching and how we're taking that forward, but also to get an insight into the leadership opportunities and how that links into the learning for our young people and the wellbeing supports that are in place as well. And that's a key part of our self-evaluation process that we take place each year in terms of how we're moving forwards. Part of that as well is also the school has not done inspection since 2010, so the likelihood is that there will be an inspection coming in the near future for the school. I don't have any date or information for you at this time. As soon as I'm aware, obviously I'll share that with the whole school community. Again, the authority is looking to support all schools who are in scope for inspection. Looking at our inclusion collaborative, we have support for learning, we have our wellbeing hub and our snug, and as part of a city-wide initiative for all young people to attend their local high school. We now have young people who in previous years would have gone to another school to access their educational support bases. That's now happening within their own local high school and allows them to access that and be included in their local high school. So we're pulling together that structure for sharing with parents and carers and the key information in and around the different roles and responsibilities across all of our support team and how that impacts our young people to give everyone a clear understanding of the processes and the supports that are in place. Hilary touched on the S6 and we've done a lot of work to try and support our S6. We appreciate it's their last year of high school. We want to finish it positively. So we had had 2 assemblies with them looking at how we could accommodate and support them in the times when they have study periods. And we've created a timetable. We've looked at the spaces. I know it's already been touched on, and I'll touch on it again in a wee bit in relation to another aspect. But obviously our accommodation is very tight given the size and the role of our school. And it's again, some of the areas that were designed to be research and breakout areas are now open plan teaching spaces. So again, the site here have been excellent at working with us in terms of when those spaces are having to be used for teaching and learning, not occupying them to allow the learners in those spaces to have the best experience possible, and to support the site here as we've looked at try and utilise any spaces that we do have. Again, when they're looking for quiet study spaces, we've got our study booths down in the design and technology area. We have a larger area down on the ground floor of Malala as well. They can access the forum in the central part of the Malala building, our school library, and then there are several spaces also at the Dara campus. And what we also agreed with them that there may be times where they do have a period where they're not in class. Sometimes they want to use that as a sociable space, so they've agreed to use the dining centre at both campuses, and that seems to be well utilised and certainly using that more regularly now than they had previously. So again, I think we're moving in a positive direction, and again want to make sure that we can facilitate spaces for them to make sure that they can be on the school campuses and able to access those safe, warm spaces to support them ahead of their qualifications and their prelims in the new year. At the last couple of parent council meetings, there's been the discussion in and around English texts, and we're linking in with the English faculty and our librarians. and they're looking at what would be the best way in and around supporting that. One possibility could be collections of 5 to 10 of the same book, looking at reading circles, which they can utilise during library lessons. And again, trying to look at the stock of graphic novels that are more current text for resourcing the library to encourage young people in terms of the reading, and that as part of their literacy as they move through high school as well. So again, we'll continue to link in with the English faculty and communicate with the Parent Council in terms of what we see as the best way of taking that forwards. In terms of our facilities and resources, thinking about our design and technology and our food and health technology departments, and the space and the staffing. Excuse me. So in terms of a school for our size, we're split across the 2 campuses. Our Dara campus has a science classroom, but that really, apart from the gym hall, is the only practical activity space that we have in the Dara campus. For FHT, we have 2 practical rooms, 2 kitchens, and it's a very popular subject with good uptake through into senior phase as well. So again, it's about trying to utilise that, and the curriculum is not just, particularly in our first and second year, not just around about cooking, we're looking at sewing and other life skills as well. So again, it's trying to make sure that young people have access to fulfil the curriculum. CDT is the same. We have 2 workshops. We also have a graphic communication room and a computer engineering science room as well. But it's a very popular subject, whether that's graphic communication, design and technology, engineering science. So the uptake is great all the way through. Pupils engage and enjoy the subjects. So again, the spaces that we have. We've also had some staffing issues in CDT in terms of absence, and again for a variety of different reasons, and CDT teachers are in short supply, but the team there have been absolutely fantastic in terms of how they've accommodated that, facilitated the curriculum for the national qualification courses, rotated classes in the S1 and 2 to try and make sure that young people are getting exposure to the DT design and technology teachers. Again, trying to ensure a consistent approach when they're having delivery is important as well for their experience. This staffing is settling down, and again, we'll continue to work with the team at the centre in terms of our facilities to allow a school of our size to have access to the appropriate resourcing to allow them to access the curriculum. Next topic is our short life working groups, and thank you to everybody who has responded to say they would be interested in being part of either our communication, mobile phone or homework short life working groups. We have had staff meetings just over the last week, so we'll be sending a communication out just to thank everybody, and we will be in touch very shortly to try and engage with the parents and carers who have volunteered to be part of those short life working groups. Aisling Dolan, who is our curriculum leader for maths, is taking forward the communication. I'm taking forward the mobile phone policy, and Laura Stewart, who's deputy with learning and teaching, is going to be taking forward the homework. And as part of that, we're also linking in with our students to make sure that the voice of everybody is heard in terms of how we take forward these different policies and procedures to make our school function as well as possible. A couple of weeks ago, we had our Gaelic Medium Education Open Evening, and it was lovely to have so many young people and parents and carers along to our Dara campus. It was an opportunity for them to find out a little bit more about the GME curriculum and to see the facilities when we have our P7 Open Evening back in September. It's on the main campus, and everybody has access to all of those buildings, so we feel it's important. Particularly for our GME pupils who are going to spend a significant amount of their time at the Dara campus, then it's an opportunity for them to come and see and experience, understand the curriculum that they'll be engaging with, and to see the facilities that they'll be accessing over the course of their time with us. So it was a lovely evening, and again, thank you to the Parent Council refreshment team who were there in the evening, and it was very well received and very much appreciated. Competitive sports fees. Been communication both from Ellie Ambrose, who did a presentation at one of our recent parent council meetings, and also communications to all parents and carers about the change in the active schools approach. And the PE staff have continued to ensure that our young people have access to a whole range of different sports and activities. A lot of these have costs attached to them in terms of officiating, in terms of transport and entry fees. So I know we've had in a couple of mentions in the head teacher update, excuse me, recently, just to remind parents and carers, if they're able to, it would be very much appreciated if they can make that contribution just to support our young people to access and the range of these different activities. A lot of them involve playing at national levels in the Scottish Cup, and I know teams are being very successful in a whole range of different sports. So we're keen to encourage that and promote that across a whole range, as well as what our active school colleagues are delivering for our young people on site as well. Presentations. Linked in with Hilary and the Parent Council. So in January, we're looking at our health and well-being and mental health and well-being resources and provision, and being able to give an update in terms of how we're progressing with those aspects in the school. And in March, we're going to be looking at more interdisciplinary learning and looking at the variety of different sciences from the different sciences that we have in the science faculty, so our biology, chemistry and physics, but also our environmental science, computing science, engineering science, a whole range, and trying to look at them and explain and give a greater understanding of those different contents and how they interlink. Excursions, Hilary had touched again on the timelines for exchanges, and we're constantly reviewing the processes and trying to make sure that we give parents and carers as much notice as possible. So we've linked back in and around those aspects and trying to make sure that that isn't giving people a short amount of time to make a decision, and also quite often with some of these excursions there can be obviously costs that are a little bit larger attached to them because of the nature of them. We are continuing to work on trying to pull together a programme for parents and carers which allows you to see the range of different activities, excursions that the school traditionally puts on year. We're pretty much returning to a kind of full provision now where staff are keen to do that. There's a new process that was introduced last year, and again going through that process to make sure that staff have got that support in terms of a timeline, and seeking to give parents and carers as long as possible in terms of payment plans to cover the costs to support those young people. We also look to support all of our young people to access these opportunities. We use some of our pupil equity funding to support in the excursions, and we're also fortunate to have an opportunities fund where we can try and make sure that any young person that financial cost is not a barrier. And we also have very good support from the trust who link in terms of trying to support with those different activities for our young people. And quite a number of our groups have made bids to the trust to support in terms of reducing that overall cost for everybody attending. Moving on to some news and updates, some success and celebrations. One of our S4 pupils, Sophia Barrera, recently won the Scottish Female Junior Boxer of the Year, which was an excellent achievement. Sophia was then competing at an international competition recently and did incredibly well, winning all of her bouts except for the last one where she was narrowly defeated by the reigning champion. So fantastic success for Sophia, and we're delighted for her. We had some Minecraft success, so some of our young people who are involved in the club that takes place in the school, and they were competing against their peers across the city. And the design brief for this challenge, there's different challenges throughout the year, The challenge for this one was around bridge design, and the foodie jet-powered Minecraft llamas, as they're named, were the winners in the secondary section of the most recent challenge. We had a significant number of young people competing or participating at the Royal National Mod in Oban recently, and massive congratulations to everybody who took part there. It was a very popular and competitive event, and we're really proud of all of our young people who went on. Some special congratulations to who took some of the top prizes in their respective competitions. In this Clarsac self-accompaniment, gold went to Sophie McDonald. In the Clarsac duets under 13, gold went to Ailey Smart and Sorsha Spencer. And silver went to Ailish Hobson and Dervla Sorlach. The Clarsac Intermediate 1 Grade 2 and 3 silver went to Ailey Smart. And the literacy 13 to 15 years old, gold went to Eve Thompson and bronze went to Ocean Fuentes. So some fantastic achievements by our young people there. In maths, our students keep showing amazing prowess in the different maths competitions, and recently, having qualified for the Scottish National Final for the Enterprising Maths competition, a team of 4, Jessie Kim in S4, Hyson Chan in S3, Bomber in S3 and Alexander Butala in S3 went to Glasgow and managed to achieve second place out of 62 schools in the whole of Scotland, and they were the top state school in the competition. So a massive well done to all of them. That was a remarkable achievement, and we're really, really pleased at how well they did. But we also recently got results for the Mathematical Olympiad for girls, with great results for 3 of our participants, Katie James in S6, Jessie Kim in S4, who both got a distinction, and Celia Rebecca in S6 got a merit. So again, really proud of the hard work and dedication that the young people showed, and gaining some fantastic results. And the last update for me this evening is in relation to a project that Ms Carruthers, our CL for Social Subjects, worked with a partnership group, and it was a project called Many Good Men, where Mary Cochrane, who's in S6, Tilly Crocker in S4, and 2 former S6 from last year, Paula Moreno Carrasco and Lauren Hunter Venables, took part in a project with a community group called Passion for Fusion, and it was run by a drama company called Civic Digits, and with the support of Heart of Midlothian Football Club. The project wanted to explore the growing influence of the manosphere and the incel culture and how young men are drawn into this online. And the project involved the 2 groups developing characters and plot lines to explore these themes. Each group then had their play written and performed at Tynecastle Stadium as a promenade play. And this was an immersive and interactive experience for the audience, and delighted to share that the project won the Innovation Award at the recent Creative Edinburgh Awards ceremony, and the project is hoping to get more funding to enable more young people to take part. Again, congratulations to all of the girls, and we're delighted that their hard work and creativity has been recognised by this wonderful award. And that's all of my updates for just now. Thank you, Hilary.
And thank you, Neil. That is a lot. And thank you so much for going through it all. Congratulations to all those who have been so successful. It's really great to hear of the different ranges of activities that the young people in the school are getting involved with and the engagement they are having. So it's great to hear all of that. There are a lot of questions, and we will go through them. Again, if people could please uptick the ones that they're particularly interested in, that really helps us go through and make sure that we get through the key issues that people have during the course of the meeting. So I think we'll keep the Q&A open for another 7 minutes till 8:15, and then we'll start to pull things together. Oh yes. Thanks, Kate, for that. So I'm just going to go to the most like, and so the most like comment is one that from Caroline Meadows. Thank you, Caroline. That says the music fundraiser the Friday before last was excellent. But I think if school comms were better, they would have got more customers. So thank you to all those who took part in that. And I guess that's, again, maybe one of these questions that will come up with the with the short life working groups around how events and information is shared between the school and pupils and parents to hear about things. So as Neil commented on that already, so thank you, and well done to everyone who took part in that event. A comment to carry on. Yes, Neil, please.
Sorry, just in regards to that, that would be the Music Fest event, which is normally an event that takes place for pupils by pupils, but I think there was in this year's event there was overwhelming contact from parents and carers about attending the event, so the team decided to open that up. So that's certainly something again we'll take on board in terms of going forward. So thank you for that feedback.
Thank you. There's a long question that's had many likes about Nigel's presentation. So thanks to Nigel for this excellent analysis and bringing this data to life. Really positive to see the improvements in the SMID cohorts. This has been a historic problem. I don't know. Yes, Nigel is still here. So when will we hear about what actions will be taken from this insight? And could Nigel or Neil comment on whether capacity and specifically access to sufficient practical spaces is a risk to sustaining and increasing the level of attainment? So I guess this goes to the rising roles and the pressures that places on delivery of teaching within the school. So Neil, I'm not sure whether you can see that question, but it's the question with 11 likes at the bottom. But if either you or Nigel would like to comment on sort of issues of space and delivery of teaching and attainment.
Yeah, no, obviously we're absolutely. Am I live?
I think you can be heard. Oh, yes, you are live now.
I can be heard, yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Just so yeah, absolutely. We're delighted in terms of the attainment for our young people, particularly those in our lowest SIMD and our lowest 20%. Obviously, we want to give young people the best experiential learning possible, which empowers them, motivates them, supports them to achieve their best. So again, I know in our practical subjects, the staff are always reviewing and looking at creative ways to try and make sure that they can deliver a quality learning experience that ensures that our young people have the opportunity to have a real depth in their knowledge and a depth of understanding in terms of those national qualification courses. So at this moment in time, I think we're still working creative options in terms of the learning and teaching, the delivery of that support, the use of our digital aspect to support our young people and the approaches that the staff take. So we still have high expectations that our young people will continue to attain and achieve across the whole curriculum. But again, we would always be pushing for development in terms of the resources that we have and the facilities that we have to try and make sure that the whole way through from S1 to S6 our young people have the best experience.
Thank you. Nigel, I don't know whether you had any comment at this point. I see he's unmuted, so possibly.
Yes, I'm still there. Neil's much more closely involved with the accommodation issues than I am. I just try to work around them, so yeah. I'll just find the question again. A second. So I don't know if I've got much more to add on that, and certainly in terms of the actions from the data, we are getting much more savvy on the data, and we'll be looking at how we can use that, and I've put on other posts that the people tracking things has got the potential to really help us with lots of things in terms of forward planning things and looking what's coming down the road for us. So we're certainly looking at that and informing the curriculum need. Looking at alternative courses that might be really beneficial to people. Great, thank you so much for your comments. We've got a lot of questions, so I'm going to move on. The next most liked question is this: are there guidelines for teachers about sharing their personal political positions in class? We are getting reports of quite extreme positions that are not being balanced by alternative or more mainstream positions, e.g. on health, on Israel, Palestine. So I guess this is a general question about political views with a small p or a large p, and just how that's being communicated with pupils. I don't know, Neil, whether that's something you can comment on, what how that should be handled, and if there are concerns that you have about it.
Yeah, I'd certainly be concerned if staff members are sharing their political views. That's certainly, as a professional, we should be not taking political stances in terms of our point with our young people. That's certainly always reinforced any time there are general elections, for example, and obviously anything we do in terms of sharing current context should certainly be a very balanced view in terms of how we educate our young people and not giving a biased version of any one side of any story. And certainly it's our job to be educators and not to share our personal political slant on aspects of current ongoings in the world. I think is probably the best way to put it, but certainly if anyone had a concern, I would ask them to get in touch with me.
Thank you for that. I think so. The person who has put that, or if other people have comments, then please, as Neil says, please do get in touch with your concerns. Then the school can investigate that. Thank you. The next question is hopefully a little bit easier, but an email today from the maths department about scientific calculators in S2. At other schools, these are bulk bought by the school and sold directly to pupils with payment via parent pay, ensuring everyone has the right type and that everyone has one. Quite a good idea to make sure everyone is well equipped. So I don't know, Neil, whether you have comments about how the maths department do communicate about that, or Nigel as well, if you want to come in and sort of address that point.
I can comment from having done it previously, if only, but we have to be really careful because it was to do with the VAT status of the school, because we were buying things with VAT exempt, and then we were selling them on to the young people because we were getting trade bulk prices. But I think this was in Stirling, not in Edinburgh, but the auditors weren't very happy with using that, so that there could be sort of I'm not a finance expert, but there could be just aspects of this which could get the school into difficulty if the auditors came in, just in terms of this all done with good intention, obviously, but we could fall foul of some financial regulations around it.
Okay, thank you. So I guess it's more complex possibly than it might appear, but maybe
it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't. So maybe this is just something then, if it's something that parents are keen that the school should be able to, or could if parents are keen for the school to look into whether it's possible to provide that through the school ordering, or rather than having to buy them personally, maybe that's something you could let the parent council know, and we can pursue whether that's something that can happen in future. So thank you for the question. I've got the next most liked question is about trips, and there are a number of questions about trips, and I know, Neil, you've already addressed some of this and about sort of gathering together all the trips that the school is hoping to run, and I think that's really welcome, and it would be very helpful, I think, for parents to see what's coming up. I know we've discussed, you know, there might be several trips that a child is able to take, but if they're not sure exactly if or what not they'll run, they maybe just say, oh well, I need to take this one, and then oh, I didn't realise that some other trip was coming up that I'd rather go to. So it would be very helpful to have that coming up. But I just will reflect that a number of parents have commented that, you know, that we're still recovering from COVID, where pupils didn't get to go on trips for a long time, and so certain year groups, certainly those pupils now that are sort of in their S5 and 6, who are really only now getting to have opportunity to take trips. I don't know that there's how much the school can do about that at this point, but I don't know whether you'd like to add any further comment about provision of trips for all pupils throughout the school, and just how that's going to be organised. I think you'll be made live soon. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks. Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's something we've been aware of over the last few years about a particular cohort of young people who were probably impacted by the lockdowns in regards to trips, excursions, and tail end of primary school and the beginning of high school, and obviously the impact that's had. I know, obviously, staff are keen to offer a wide variety of different opportunities, and more are beginning to happen for us. And again, that's something that people who are looking at some of the opportunities that could potentially happen I had one today, for example, which will need to go through the process. Was looking to offer out to 5th year students, and I know there's a couple of other possibilities of opportunities for students in the 5th year in particular at this point in the coming year that might be there, which will support. And again, it's something that we're looking to try and find a bit of a balance to, so that there's a range of different options at different points during the school time for young people, because we appreciate that these are fantastic opportunities. Those are a lot of the memories that you remember from school. We absolutely understand that. So again, it's trying to make sure that we have a range, and obviously a big part of that relies on staff being prepared to offer and run those opportunities, particularly our international ones that take them away for usually a week or so. But again, trying to make sure there's a range of more local ones that young people can engage with and have the opportunity to go out. And again, we're just kind of reviewing and looking at what we do for our alternative timetable, and how we implement that, and how that can be another avenue for opening up a range of different opportunities for our young people.
Thank you. I mean, I think, as you say, it is really important, these memories that you do make and the opportunities for learning that are not in the classroom is so important. But I appreciate that it's difficult to set up. But I think we would hopefully be able to work with you in getting that list of even if it's a potential notification of trips that people can be thinking of and be aware that what might be coming down the stream. I think that would just help people plan and think and be prepared for making the decision on which trips their young person is able to go on. But thank you. Next question, I don't know whether, but thank you to Kathy for her point. Could we have an update on how all the adoring parents will be accommodated at the Christmas concert this year, given that it's in the school hall rather than in the Usher Hall? Thank you. I don't know how that is going to be managed, but Neil, possibly you can let us know if you're aware.
Yeah, so it'll be a very similar situation to what we had 2 years ago. Obviously, we're pretty gutted that we weren't able to get the Usher Hall. Again, we did explore some different alternative venues. Hopefully you'll appreciate and understand that it's not just the performance on the evening, but we have full day of rehearsal in the venue, and the logistics of trying to get our young people from school to venues and back over the course of the day to allow that to happen has meant that this year but it'll be similar, and that there will be 2 concerts. We try, obviously within health and safety constraints, to get as many seats in the theatre as we possibly can, to allow as many parents and carers to attend, but it will be 2 concerts, and I know we were discussing that at the senior team meeting late this afternoon, and I know the performing arts team are working hard in the background, our music staff and our instructors, to prepare the young people. So that will be the plan, is to try and accommodate with having 2 different concerts, obviously. Trying to get the best part of about 600 people the opportunity to come and enjoy those Christmas concerts. I'm pleased to share that we've got the Usher Hall for the next 3 years going forward, so we'll return, because obviously it has an impact for our primary schools as well. I know how much they enjoy being part of the Christmas concerts and performing at the Usher Hall, and again, similar to our trips and excursions, it's one of those lifetime memories of performing at the Usher Hall. That's fantastic to have. So yeah, we're sorry that we're not able to have that facility this year, but that was out with our control, unfortunately.
Thank you. And it's really great to hear that for the next 3 years after this year, the school will be back there. I think that, as you say, it's a fantastic opportunity for all the young people involved and for their, as they say, adoring parents. So thank you for that. A comment that has a lot of likes, and it's slightly concerning. I did not receive, so thank you to Alistair. I did not receive the last weekly email from the school. I was forwarded, but I'm concerned that others may not have received it either. I also had to ask for the link for this meeting to be forwarded to me. Has there been a change to the way these emails are being sent? It's not in my spam folder either. I checked. So I think it is obviously a concern if the all school emails are not going out. And this is, I mean, so a number of people have liked this as a comment. So just to pass that back to you, that could be a problem, and I appreciate you may not be able to answer now, but if you have any comment, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can give a little bit of an update. I know that the Friday update went through the normal process, but for some reason seemed to hit a buffer, so it didn't go out. And the office, the admin team discovered that on Monday morning, so I asked them to resend it on Monday. Again, I'll follow up with them to make sure. We haven't changed systems in any regard, so I'm not quite sure why that hasn't happened. And today's invite for tonight should have come out as well. And again, I will follow up in the morning with the admin team just to check whether that same issue that happened on Friday has occurred again. So apologies for that, but as I say, I will follow up, and then that's something we can link in with the communications policy team as well.
That's great, thanks for that, because I think obviously it's a way in which you do get your most of the messaging out to the school, and so yeah, it'd be great if you can look into that. Thank you. A question from Toby: how successful have efforts to reduce vaping been? So I guess this is an issue that was discussed at the Parent Council in past times. We haven't addressed it recently, but it's still a concern. So I don't know, Neil or Nigel, if you're able to comment on that.
Yeah,
I think we can hear you. Yeah, there you go.
You can hear us. Okay. Oh, I think Nigel's coming in. Are you coming in, Nigel?
I'm okay. So it's yours if you want it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
at the moment, it would be an anecdotal answer. Obviously, if we encounter any young people vaping, it's treated in a similar way to smoking, and that process that we would follow in terms of engagement with home and trying to get any young person to engage in a cessation program. I would say, certainly from my own experience, I'm not encountering the vaping. We have the occasional issue with young people, but I think it's more occasional than a regular aspect. And again, it's something that we'll continue to work with our young people in terms of their education and understanding of exactly what these devices contain. And again, we've tried to make sure that through the PSE program with our guidance team, that young people are have a full understanding of exactly the contents, and that these devices can actually have a harmful impact on them. So I think it's something that's still there, it's still an issue. I think young people have got hopefully the understanding and the message that it's not something that we're tolerating, certainly on school campus and school premises, and trying to support any young person that is engaging in that activity to understand and to educate them away from it.
Great, thank you. Again, there are a number of questions that have come up about school trips, and I think possibly you'll share that. You sort of commented on that already. So about specific trips, I guess pupils will just need to wait until they hear about it, and you'll hopefully share the list once you have that available. So thank you. The next sort of most like comment is just from somebody saying well done to all those students at the mod. Obviously it was great achievement, and congratulations, and thank you for your comment congratulating them. And this question has been asked before, and I believe, Neil, you have answered, but can we please have an update on when we will get a list of prices for the canteen? Because I think pupils have asked for this, and it's been tricky, and I can see that this is obviously a problem that's been going on for a while, but I think it is something that is important. So please, yeah, I'll hear your comments.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We do actually have the prices up in the canteen now, and thanks to Nigel and the team, we've completely reconfigured the process of our young people entering, purchasing, and paying for and exiting the canteen at both breaks and lunch. And certainly the anecdotal feedback we've had from our young people is hugely positive. The whole process is going from taking most of lunchtime to maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes. Sales continue to be positive, but I will chase up to get the information to get it onto the school website. So apologies that we haven't done that yet, but we do actually have the information displayed in the canteen now for our young people, but I totally appreciate it. It'd be really helpful and beneficial for parents and carers to be able to see that. So I'll pursue that again tomorrow and try and get that on the website as quickly as possible.
Fantastic, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, not all information that's shared with our young people we appreciate makes it out of the school sometimes. So thank you. I think this is more of a comment, but from Seb, and it just to, I'm sure other people have seen it, and it's not really a comment for Neil particularly, but it's just to note that there is a service, Cam Scott, to help pupils who may be thinking of applying to Cambridge. So there's a link in the to a website there that I think we will share to others if they're interested, but it says all assistance is voluntary and all services are free. So it's to help more state secondary school pupils get places in Cambridge, and presumably the advice would be similar if you were thinking of applying to Oxford as well. So but anyway, just to note that information is there for people to interested to see. We've already sort of commented on the question, which is a question for us as the Parent Council, to note that we should collect all the questions that have been asked. So hopefully, I think today we have probably got through most of them, but if there are things that you the person asking this, have heard that we have not addressed, please do get in touch and we will follow up with them. This I think Neil, you've already addressed about sort of just the dates that things will happen, you know, when things will be shared. I think parents would quite like it to have this calendar of when school activities are happening, when reports are going to be sent out. This is particularly for S1 pupils, because I appreciate that some dates have been changed, but I would have been unaware of the date for S1 reports had I not checked the school app for parents. Some kind of handbook for new S1 parents to share the details of absence reporting, school start and end times, period times, where you get a school tie, and other miscellaneous information would be good. So I guess this is from Lizzie. I think it's just because it is true, you come to the school and many things that will seem obvious but aren't, and just a better way of being informed. So yeah, Neil, I see, please.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll make sure again we get that information up onto the website under the parent tab, so all parents are able to access that information at any point. So yeah, absolutely happy to take that forward.
Fantastic. So really, I think that is pretty much it. The information has been shared with the email address. If you are able to help with the Marchmont and Sheens community Christmas tree lighting on the 7th of December, so there's an email address that's there in the Q&A if that's something that you would like to do. And then thank you, Nigel. You've obviously answered various questions that people have posed in the Q&A, and you've added your comments there. So if you have other attendees have other questions they'd like to follow up, then please do. And yes, so somebody asked how many were attending today's meeting. Obviously, some people have dropped off now, but we had a maximum of 51 that were online. And at the time when the question was asked, there were 47 still listening to the call. So we're getting, I mean, more than would attend an in-person meeting. So we're still, I think, if the question really is about how well people are engaging with these meetings, we still would persist with having half online and half in person, just because I think that probably allows more people to attend. So as it's now after 8:30. Oh, actually, there is a question quickly, which is about when, and maybe this can maybe be a question that's answered afterwards, but do you know when the flu jags are going to be done? We have not had the consent forms yet. I don't know, Neil, whether you're aware of when.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can, yeah.
Carry on, yeah. Yeah,
so I'm sure the consent form should have gone out, and I'm sure there was something in a recent Friday update asking for them to be returned. So if you haven't had one, if you could just drop an email into the JAM admin account, we'll be able to pick that up and get back to you.
Fantastic, thank you. And there was a couple of questions around sort of the rollout of active schools and why was it so slow, but why couldn't they start in September? Neil can probably comment. At least part of that, though, was due to Elliot being on paternity leave, and I think it was just a practical thing that he had a huge amount to do early at the start of the school session, and then it just took a while to roll that out. But just Neil, if you have comments to add in there.
Yeah, that was the main factor in it for us this year. Delighted for Elliot. Obviously, it just slowed things a little bit. We then had a bit of an admin issue in terms of getting the communications out, and I think that played a factor for a short period of time as well, but certainly that's something I'll link in with Elliot and the team to make sure that going forwards we can get everything communicated now and started as soon as possible for young people, because the sooner we get them engaged and active and have that consistent programme, then the more successful they're going to be. So absolutely.
Thank you. There was, and the very last question is sort of related to that. It says it would be helpful to be told how much it costs to run Active Schools Clubs and the Breakfast Club, for example. It is easier to fundraise for these types of activities if parents know what they cost. I appreciate that might not be something you can address now, but maybe we can sort of return back to that at a future meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to come back to that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed to both Neil and to Nigel. Thank you to all of you who have joined us and for your questions. I hope you found the answers useful. If you haven't received an answer to a question that you would like to, please either get in touch with the school if it's for them, or equally to email to the Parent Council. We'd be delighted to follow that up for you. More information about what we do is on the Parent Council website, which is just JGHS parentcouncil.org. If you want to go and find things out there, we will continue to update you in the school newsletter, which is, we think, is hopefully, if the email problems are okay, that's the best way that we have of getting in touch. So we will put the slides online that we've shared and Nigel's presentation, so you'll be able to access that again. This, as I said, this was recorded, and so now we know how to find the recording in the new team setup. We will get that uploaded onto YouTube as well. So if anybody does want to watch back and follow up on any points that we've discussed this evening, you'll be able to do that there. But it's now 25 to 9, and Neil and Nigel, I'm sure, have other things that they should be doing, as I'm sure so do you. I will say and close the meeting just now. Our next meeting is Wednesday, the 29th of January. That, as Neil mentioned, that'll be sort of coming some of the health, well-being issues and activities at the school will be the main point of conversation. And you are all, of course, very, very welcome to join us at 7 o'clock in the school library for that. But apart from that, thank you again and good night.